Come on. Here we go. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Try Buzz with Muzz, our first ever product night, and we're talking to none other than the team from PREPD, Hydration Australia. We've got three absolute amazing people on the big screen at the moment. We do welcome them to our first ever Try Buzz with Muzz. Up in the top left-hand corner on my screen, I'm not sure everyone else's, is Dr. Ian Brown. Welcome to Try Buzz, Dr. Ian Brown.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks very much, Pete.
We're going to find out a lot about this young man in many different ways. He had an unbelievable career, and he's certainly a big factor of the PREPD hydration team. The two other gentlemen on the screen, of course, we've got the master and the apprentice. The little man there, Smile, the man in black, of course. He's the Ironman 70.3 world champion in 2016. He's an Ironman Australia champion here at #2444, and he's won races, including many Asia Pacific championships of 70.3 and Ironman all over the world. Timbo Reed, welcome, buddy.
Thank you, Pete. It's good to be here. Good to chat.
Don't sound so excited, mate.
I'm excited. I'm skipping putting the kids to bed. This is a real bonus night.
It's great to have one of the world's best athletes. He's a great mate of mine. He's a great friend of the triathlon world. He loves racing, and racing loves watching him race wherever he does it, in here in Oceania, Asia, all throughout the world. Thanks, Reed, for joining on. Of course, one of the PREPD athletes. And the little master on one side, the apprentice, so to speak. It's a pretty loose term, but Steve McKenna, welcome, champion. Always great to catch up.
Cheers, Muzz. Happy to be here.
Yeah, mate, of course, Steve, mate, you've hit the scene in a big way. I mean, you're based in South Australia. You've come up through the ranks and already hit the big time and had some great races, and we will talk about them soon. But, mate, you're a part of the PREPD team. It's a good team to be part of. Yeah,
it is. They're in Adelaide, so it's so it was a good fit, really. I learned a lot about it early on, and then and I heard my coach Reedy was partnering with them as well, and it's a really good fit down here. They give me all the information I need.
Yeah, well, already we've got the CEO of PREPD. We're on show here, boys. The CEO, Andrew Perry, is there, and he's given me a message that says, grill them, Pete. All right, so I've got a license to hurt you boys today, but I'm scared of Reedy because I know if I hurt him, he's going to come back and hurt me tenfold, so take it easy. Dr. Ian Brown, as we said, it's a privilege to actually meet you. You do live in my hometown, or our hometown as well. #244, you have so for about 5 or 6 years, but you've done an amazing career. Tell us a little bit about your career and primarily how did you end up getting involved as the designer and the inventor of PREPD hydration?
Thanks very much, Pete. As far as a fantastic career, it's been a long one, considering I'm sort of looking at people who are much, much younger than myself. But I got involved back in the 70s and early 80s looking at, if you like, the materials that wind up providing you with energy. And at this particular stage, there was work that was done in Africa originally, looking at what was the major material actually winding up in the large bowel of people. And I became interested because in Australia, we had a wide range of agricultural crops where you could start to look at those particular materials. And what we were finding was that the majority that was getting into the large bowel was starch. Now, how starch got there, since everybody believed that starch just breaks down to glucose, is one thing, but we found that there's a range of these starch materials which grow quite naturally, where they don't break down to glucose. They have a lot of other functions in the body as well. And if you go back to traditional diets, there's a lot more of these, what they call resistant starches present. So again, I was doing work inland in New South Wales at that particular stage, and I started to have a look in the early 1980s around all the crops that were being grown to see whether I could find natural sources of these particular resistant starches that could be used. And as it turned out, I found some in what we call high amylose corn. Now, high amylose corn is just one particular kind of corn that's grown. There are two major components in starch. One's called amylose, which is highly branched, and one called amylose, which is quite linear. And the higher you get in the linear material, the amylose, the more resistant it is to digestion and the breakdown of glucose. So what we had was I found, if you like, crops that were naturally grown within various people's, if you like, crops and plants in Australia, and we were able to adapt those such that we could get the starch out and then use it as a way of being able to formulate into foods. So the world's first, and this is again, it's another Australian invention, was in 1994, the world's first resistant starch product was actually put on the market in Wonder White bread as a dietary fiber, because the starch is very, very small, you can't see it, it's white, and it actually increased the amount of fiber that people were consuming, particularly kids, by a huge amount at that particular time, and it's still on the market now. But what it led then onto was to say, okay, what are the other things that this can actually do when you look at it as the starches and they move down the GI tract? And we found the very first thing you do is it changed the energy that's actually available to people, because it's not breaking down the glucose immediately. It doesn't have that insulinemic effect that is sometimes a concern, but it does break down, some of it breaks down to glucose very slowly in the small intestine. And that provides you with slow release of energy, which is very important. When it gets to the large bowel, its interaction with the, every person has about 1.5 kilos of bacterial microbiome within the large bowel, which is very important for your health, particularly if it's the right kind. And the interaction in the large bowel was really what we studied over the next probably 20 years. This led on to all kinds of things that we sort of found, some of which was that the bacteria, when they grow and ferment in the bowel, they produce things called short-chain fatty acids, which reduce the pH. That's really important because it actually stops pathogenic bacteria. Next off, it actually, lower pH means that you get increased uptake of minerals, things like calcium, iron, magnesium, all are increased in terms of their absorption into the body. It also stimulates a range of other things that occur, and we found that it stimulated the use of energy, so the mobilization or utilization of body fat over carbohydrate. And so there's a lot of work we did which showed that you could increase the amount of fat that was being burnt in the body quite substantially by the amount of certain types of resistant starches that you were able to use. As we went down through this, it's being used at the present time in Japan for treating of ulcerative colitis, because it helps repair, if you like, the cells within the large bowel on people who suffer that particular condition. And we found it also was able to reduce pathogenic bacteria in the bowel itself, so it gave people a much healthier gut. But one of the things we found during this time was that we were looking at, in terms of hydration, there was a meeting that was held in 1993 where they were looking at a way of being able to get more water absorbed out of the large bowel. And there was a meeting that was held in the US at a conference between 3 people, one from India, one from Yale University, and one from Flinders University in South Australia, where they were looking for something that would do that. And just happens I was working with a gentleman from Flinders in South Australia, and we were showing that we could increase the amount of short-chain fatty acids that were being produced quite substantially. So that was the genesis, if you like, of looking at what then was a medical application, because we were looking at being able to treat the world's largest disease, which is, as you might imagine, is diarrhea. There are about 2.3 billion cases of diarrhea around the world a year, and it's a major killer, particularly of children in the third world. And so we did a lot of work in Africa, India, and Bangladesh with the Gates Foundation, finalizing, if you like, a formulation which has now been approved by the FDA. But in all of that work, there are lots and lots of different kinds of resistant starches. And one of the things we wanted to, in fact, have a look at was what other ways could we use it by influencing the microflora within the gut to help with people who also have issues with hydration. One of that was certainly in terms of athletes, but we also looked at the defense forces, we looked at firefighting, we looked at mining and other places where people are subjected to very, very hot conditions. And we found, again, we were able to develop a formulation in conjunction with Yale, Flinders, and Steric Training in Australia, a formulation or series of them that can actually be used for that. And that really then became PREPD, which is now patented and was released in 2018, but really on the basis of work that we did with a range of, if you like, sporting people. But one in particular was the Adelaide Crows, where there is now a scientific paper which has been published in the International Sporting Journal, which shows the effect on, if you like, being able to consume PrEP under very hot conditions when you're doing a lot of very, very active work. And that's where I sort of pass it over to Tim and to Steve, because they're the ones who are doing this under the most intensive conditions and performing extremely well.
Yeah, thanks. That's Dr. Ian Brown, of course, the man who invented this amazing product called PREP. You are watching Try Buzz with Muzz, our first ever product show. It's great to have the PrEP team. Got 2 great ambassadors there, as we mentioned, Tim Reed, Ironman 70.3 world champion, and of course, Ironman 70.3 champion as well in Steve McKenna. Just a reminder, guys, we've got a lot of feedback already on our Facebook Live page. If you want to ask the panel some questions, please feel free to do so. We are going to listen from the two athletes in a moment. We're also going to some great 8-packs of prep to give away. So stay tuned at the end of the show. We're going to ask some questions. The winners can walk away with an 8-pack of this prepped hydration. It's absolutely fantastic product. And Tim Reed, you're kind of a special relationship with prep, because before you were an ambassador and a sponsored athlete, you used this hydration formula in your training, and you loved it that much that you actually approached the team to form the partnership.
Yeah, I think part of being a professional athlete is finding ways to be as good as you can be, whether that be nutritional or through new equipment on your bike. And I knew Prepped was out there, and was really fascinated, especially because I have a really high sweat rate with big sodium losses that made it was always made racing in intense heat quite hard for me, especially over 8-hour races. And so I did a lot of testing, like several months of trialing. I would do sub-threshold tests on the bike, typically 10 minutes at 130, 10 minutes at 140, back down, that sort of heart rate, steady heart rate work. And interestingly, there was a real pattern there, and I thought this is quite significant, and it actually matched up really well with all the literature that was out there. And so I came away from it being like, this is not another sports nutrition gimmick. This is real science, and obviously the founders and main investors are universities, so they're not going to jump on board something that doesn't have the right studies behind it to fully support their claims. And it's been really good for me. I've had some fantastic races in the heat since. I had my best race in Kona last year using Prepped, and I've got very little doubt in my mind that it gives an athlete a significant edge. And yeah, I'm been really lucky, I think, to get on board with Prep, and I'm a proud ambassador as well, because I think there's so much stuff out there. If you're on social media and you're into sport, you're getting ads every day, and there's not much out there that really has proper controlled studies like these guys have done. So yeah, it's been a real great partnership for me, and a product I really do believe in.
Mate, talking about ads, I know you're the poster boy for Prepped hydration. I must admit, on social media, every second Facebook post, everything, there's a video of you there talking to Tim. Even my little son now flicks you. He said he knows well. We've had the picture of Tim Reed up in the house over the last couple of days. And it's what it's all about. You're a great ambassador. You're a great athlete. And there's nothing better, I'd say, Reed, just finally also, that to have that relationship, something that you really believe in, something that you actually love, but more importantly, something that's really enhancing your performance. It's a great partnership, you and Brett.
Yeah, I think, like you said, you get to know the staff in a company, and I get on well with the guys, the former CEO, managing director, I'm not sure what his title was, and the current guy that I deal with, Andrew Perry. We just, it's just when you get on well with the guys and you're both on the same page and you both believe in a product, it's very easy to work together and to promote a brand. So yeah, it's not only a good product, but they've got some good staff behind the brand, and I think that's why we're seeing Prepped, really grow amongst the athletic community.
What do you think? What's your opinion of the male model, Big Tony Wickham from Prepped, mate? He's a good-looking rooster. He's a Kiwi. He's out there selling the product. He's a good bloke, isn't he, Tony Wickham?
I have no idea who Tony Wickham is.
What? Besides Andrew Perry, he's probably the second most important person in Prep. And talking about Prep, a lot of people have one fail. We'll kind of face that one later. But Janeki Gregorius, she loves Prep. There's a lot of athletes who come on Facebook saying she loves it. Super Coach Toby Coote joins on in. John Scotsman, he got a big rap for the product. We've got Jezza Meow. Now, I've known Jezza Meow for many years. He's a legend of Ironman Oz. He's done over 10. He's got a question for you, and Steve, you might be able to jump in on this one, mate. Jezza Meow said he suffered massive cramps for years. He tried the pre-race. It's just popped up, right up. He tried the, where's it gone? There it is. He tried the pre-race and it's spot on. He's still a fat bastard, but he didn't cramp at all. What do you think about the pre-race stuff? That's what he said. I didn't call him a fat bastard. It's actually on the Facebook post.
Is that for Steve or me, Pete?
Steve can answer that. We've got to get Steve. We can't have it all about you, Reed, tonight, okay? We'll have the apprentice funeral part.
Well, it does make you absorb more water, so maybe he's still a fat bastard for that reason. But,
by the way, he's actually a copper. He's a senior detective, so you'll be getting a knock on the door in South Australia later on tonight.
Yeah, what state's he in? What was the question? Sorry, Muzz.
I don't know. What was it? I've got to go back now. No, here it is. I mean, he used to suffer massive cramps, but he tried the pre-race and that's solved the problem. So the supplement comes in these great little bottles. As we said, we're giving away 6 or 7 packs of 8 bottles each. Talk about the pre-race supplement.
Yeah, I think I had similar issues to him. I think, I don't know if it was because I genuinely couldn't finish that distance or I was going too hard at that distance, but it was a coincidence that the first time I was using Preps was the first time I also performed to my potential at a 70.3. It was also probably not a coincidence that Reedy was my coach for that as well. So he's someone who looks into all these little things. So the combination of it all, smashing 2 pre-race primes, that got me through my first race. And then I ended up going to Asia and performing to my potential there. So you wouldn't have thought someone who can hardly finish a 70.3 without passing out and cramping could then go to Asia and win a race. So there's obviously more to prep than just a gimmick.
Yeah, and a good little segue here, of course. Brian Upton from up there in Queensland. He's raced in Asia many times. He's a more experienced age group. He's in the 55, 60-year age group. But he's on the Facebook page saying he's used prep for over 12 months, and it was absolutely awesome. And he's talking about a race in particular at Ironman 70.3 Bintan, which is in Indonesia. So as Reedy said, he races a lot in Asia. The heat, it's a much different racing. You've raced from one there too, Steve, so it's all right. Jezza Meow said, what is Steve McKenna's phone number? I'm going to come around. No, he didn't. He just said, other reasons why he's a fat bastard. Okay, so we're out of that one. And that's all right. Tanya Davenport, she's got a question, Reedy. You might want to jump on this one. For the average weekend warrior, why should we use this product when we're just completing rather than competing? So what the average age grouper, why would you suggest to use this prep product? And Ian, feel free to back up to you straight after this one, mate.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I found, Pete, was when I was doing really hard training blocks or even just a hard training day, my biggest issue was I would struggle to sleep at night. And I always thought, it must be the cortisol from the solid training day, or it was, maybe I didn't get enough food back in to replace the energy. But then I started weighing myself at the start of these days and at the end of these training days. And I realized that often I was finishing, a 5 or 6 hour brick session, a ride run, and I'd be 4 to 5 kilos underweight from what I had started out at, which was, even that's with hydrating well throughout the session. And I realized that also when I matched up, that my resting heart rate was higher, my heart rate variability was worse after these big days. So there's the one thing that that I realized once I started weighing myself was I just wasn't rehydrating by the time I'd go to bed. And so almost like that whole session and that day, then I would sleep poorly and I couldn't train as hard the next day. And so you couldn't roll into these consecutive training days and really build up the fitness. I was doing 2 days on, 1 day off because I was so exhausted from not sleeping. And once I started having prepped prime before those big days, and especially then I'd have the recover after, I found that I could go to bed in a much, much better hydrated state and sleep so much better. I'd be a better person the next day in general, but also I could actually train harder the next day and recover from the bigger days. So I actually find, for me, I think it's almost more important in training. Well, it's as important as in training as it is on race day, because recovery is everything. If you can train as hard as you like, but if you don't recover, it's a bit of you're wasting a lot of your time. So You need the stress and then the recovery.
I agree with that. I mean, these guys are high performance athletes, the best in the world. Recovery is so important, but the prep product, maintaining hydration is a big challenge for athletes. So there must be some big benefits in the prep product. Reed's made reference to that so much. So maintaining the hydration is such a big challenge for athletes.
Yeah, if I might just sort of make mention there, part of the reason that PREP is so different, it's unique, is because all the other hydration products are really looking at what you do in your small intestine. They're looking at absorption of water out, and they're trying to make what they call a hypoosmotic, if you like, preparation. So if you have one which has got lots of sugar, lots of glucose in it, it actually will draw water out of your body into the small intestine. So they try and make it hypoosmotic so that the water will go the other direction. That's only in the small intestine. What we found in all the work that we did is that your large bowel has the capacity to absorb about 5 litres of water a day. So we in fact put the material in so you get the small intestinal effect, but we're actually priming, if you like, all of the microflora and the bacteria in your large bowel to start pumping, if you like, generating the short chain fatty acids to pump water back into the body. So you have it the night before, the bacteria start producing the short chain fatty acids and driving water in. So you start your performance, if you like, your activity in a much better hydrated state, or at least in an optimal hydrated state. You maintain a high level of hydration during sport. And as Tim said, you take the recover afterwards and just pumps that more water back into your body so that you recover and get back to that hydration status that's going to be optimal a little bit later on. But the additional effects, as I mentioned earlier, are the bacteria in your large bowel do a lot of other things as well. When you drop the pH, it gets rid of, if you like, or controls pathogenic bacteria. So it's really promoting, if you like, the growth of beneficial bacteria. We also have a look at that dropping of the pH also increases the absorption of things like calcium, magnesium, if you like, iron and other materials, all the micronutrients, which are actually terribly important for you. And we've done work in places like France and the US and Australia in that area. So when you're looking at what's occurring here, there's far more to the picture. And what we've done really in response to people who have written into PREP with questions or observations about what they're feeling is we've started to put onto the PREP website little pieces about the science behind it in other areas. So you'll see, if you go to the website now, you'll see some on energy and both the slow energy release, but also, if you like, the energy recovery side within the bowel and how that can improve performance. The micronutrient one I'll do shortly. We've also did one on prebiotics and the prebiotic effect that it actually has in the bowel and health, because what we're actually putting in has an effect out of the GI tract and out of the large bowel, has much a broader effect across the body.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people following along. We do welcome you to try Buzz with Muzz, our first product review. We're talking with the PREP team from down here in Aussie. A lot of people following along. Chris Waring, Steve McKenna. You've actually popped up that you're watching. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Yeah, I've muted it, but I'm watching us.
He's got in. Surprising, he was asleep there before. Toby Coote, he's a coach. This would be a great result for PREP as well. He's a high performance coach. He coaches a lot of rising superstars up there on the sunny coast. He said they've had some great results with the Sunshine Coast Tri Academy, and echo what Reedy has just said about the PREP product. His favourite flavour is the vanilla. He reckons it's sensational. So it's great to see a bit of flavour in there. So one other comment I wanted to chase. Jesse Ewert tunes on in. I know it's recommended to take PREP before bedtime, but if you forget, is it okay to have it before breakfast on race day, Reedy? If you forget the night before, you get a bit nervous, for example, you do forget things. If you did forget the night before, would you recommend it to have it on race day?
Well, it depends on the duration of the race, Pete. I think ideally you want to prime your stomach that night before, or at least 6 hours before, so you can set up the large intestine to absorb more fluid. So that's where I think a lot of people still mix it up with another electrolyte drink, and where you drink the drink and then it's you try and maximize absorption. It's not. It's about setting up your gut to absorb what you drink following the prime. And so I would highly recommend you do it the night before, or 6 hours before at least. And then if you were racing for, say, 8 hours plus, probably especially longer Ironman events, you might consider doing a little top up the morning of the race, such as a recover, which I've certainly done before, just so that there's still some prepped in the system, you know, for that right down in the later stages of the race. That'll hopefully help me absorb what I'm throwing down at the aid sessions just that little bit better.
Yeah, one of the things I think you said, Rudy, in regards to your training, if you build that bigger base, like you said, recover better, you're going to have a bigger race, right?
Well, that's what it's all about. It's just about putting stress on your body and then allowing the body to adapt to that stress. And if you can give your body the optimal conditions to adapt, then you just get stronger, you get faster, you build your endurance, all those things that you're trying to do.
Yeah, Linda Rowan, she's on in. G'day, Linda. She's from Singapore. She's put up on Facebook page, do you deliver to Singapore? Now, the CEO, Andrew Perry, is actually watching, making sure he's got the little black book out here marking who's going well, who needs a bit of improvement. I've already got 2 strikes, apparently, so hopefully it'll last the show. But, Linda, just to answer your question, Prep do have an agent in Singapore, a distributor in Singapore. It can be purchased at Little Farm supermarkets. So just do yourself a favour. Sound like a bit like Molly Meldrum, and jump down to the little supermarket there up in Singapore. Now, Ian, there is a question specifically for you. Just basically before that, Steve McKenna, do you know Kath Terry?
Yeah, as a combination of my mum and dad.
He put up a question. Does Steve get his athletic genes from his mum or his dad?
Well, there was an Olympian swimmer on mum's side, and there's a lot of confidence on dad's side, so probably a bit of both.
I love that. That's a great way of saying he's up himself, is he?
No, I don't know, as much as I am.
All right.
So he's up himself.
Question is,
Yeah.
it is from John Scotsman. A question for Ian. For long events, Ian, prep is crucial to maintain hydration. For races of 2 hours or less, when can you remain hydrated with basic hydration?
So in this case, he's saying basic hydration, just use normal electrolyte drinks and the rest.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, you've got to understand about, is the person going to be fully hydrated at the time he starts the event? One of the things that PrEP does, as Tim indicated, is that you actually get to the event with optimal hydration. Now, if you're consider that you're going to be at optimal hydration at the time you commence the event, then you can continue to have water, but you then have other issues that go through the length of, or the endurance of the, if you like, the performance or the event that you're actually in. The trouble with 2 hours, we were doing work with various sports teams, and over the 2 hours, we were finding that people under intense sport and over hot conditions were in fact losing up to 2% of, if you like, their plasma water weight during that particular time, which is going to impact negatively on their performance. So the question really is around the length of the event, is how much activity you're going to be performing and how much water you're likely to be losing during that time. PrEP gives you the opportunity of maintaining, if you like, optimal hydration during that particular event.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sorry, I thought one of you boys was jumping in on there.
Smooth transition.
Sorry about that. Just going off that, Ian, but another question just to extend from that. For a multi-day event, so I mean, a lot of events out there now, our Ironman is Reedy and Steve McKenna competing, can range from 8 hours to 17 hours for some athletes, but getting very popular multi-day events, long distance events. So Scotty Ellison said, for a multi-day event, what would be the strategy? Well, sorry, for a multi-day event, what would the strategy be for taking prime and recover?
So is he, in this case, is he having 2 events in the one day?
Multi-day, so it's an event that goes over 2 or 3 days. Okay, so not all day, every day, obviously, but some events go into late night. They go 24-hour racing, for example.
Yeah, the strategy, if you like, would be that you're taking the prime before the first day, you're doing the recover afterwards, but you then top it up again before you go into the next day's performance. What you're trying to do is make sure that sufficient material is getting through your GI tract, which gets to the large bowel, takes anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. You want to make sure that it arrives in the large bowel, and that there's sufficient there to stimulate the hydration. Now, it takes anywhere from 12 to 20 hours to move across the large bowel. But what you're able to do is get the fermentation of bacteria producing the short-chain fatty acids across the length of the large bowel, so as much is being absorbed as possible and driving as much water into the body as possible. So you're really sort of just making sure that you've got sufficient, if you like, of the resistant starch present to encourage that fermentation at an optimal level for as long as possible.
That's great. Scotty else was talking about a mountain bike race where it's called Port to Port, where they do 3 days of mountain bikes and big miles each day. Of course, recovery after is very important. Now, Ian, I've got some great news for you. You've got a fan. You've got a fan. I'm the only one that hasn't got a fan at the moment. But anyway, Lisa Poppy, she says, I love listening to Ian. I have an interest in education in human anatomy and love listening to all the scientific information he's providing. Well done, mate. Congratulations. What do you reckon, boys? Give a round of applause.
It's pretty impressive.
Pretty good. Reedy, talking about your product, you talk about recovery. How after a race, I mean, your Ironman racing, you're knocking on the door of under 8 hours or around 8 hours. Some people, as I said before, out there for 12, 13, 17 hours. How do you recover and how do you use prep product straight after your event? That's one of the questions coming up on our screen.
Yeah, I just put the recover down pretty much as soon as I finish. And then, yeah, I wouldn't ever brag about my recovery strategy from races. It's nothing to tell the world about. I just, I've already been so disciplined for so long just to get to that race. I'm just normally sit in my hotel and knock back a few packets of chips, and I just crave salt and sugar and all the things I shouldn't have.
The slide is just above you on my screen. Shh, don't talk about that. Chris. Jeanette Gregoria, she's used prep for many, many years and she loves it. She's got a good question. This is especially for an Ironman athlete. Jeanette, we see her as an age group athlete, all of our Ironman events throughout Oceania. Steve, you might want to answer this one already. Would you recommend taking it in the days leading up to an Ironman event or just the night before? Would you use it for a couple of days before or the night before, Steve?
I usually use it for a few days before. I'm usually a prime on the Friday and then probably 2 primes on the night before the race. So it's usually like have a day off on the Saturday. I don't really know what my theory is, but then, but I just think I'm gonna absorb too much water if I have it 3 days in a row. But I don't know, lightweight. Still thinking about my weight a bit, but anyway, that's how I go with it. I usually smash a few the night before the race. I probably go overboard, but then when you were talking about after the race, they've got the new protein powder as well now, so that'll be handy to maybe Reedy can mix it with beer or something, but.
Oh, mate. Apparently, folks, these are 2 of the best athletes in the world. They swim, bike and run. On my left of the screen, the man with the sponsored shirt on there, of course, the prepped superstar is none other than World Ironman 70.3 champion in 2016, Tim Reed. Of course, he's won Ironman events in 70.3s all over the world, and Steve McKenna has really hit the scene. He's been around for a while, and I mean that in a nice way, Steve, but in regards to 70.3, half iron distance and iron distance racing, relatively short career, but you've absolutely ticked some big boxes. Now, Chris Waring, guys, he's a first-time user. Is there an introduction lead-up with using this example during training? So he's a first time. How does he start to get the product on board? Who wants to answer it?
I would always say with anything, it's probably better to go a small amount to start with and just check. I mean, I haven't heard of anyone having any GI distress, but it can't hurt to just go a half bottle the first time round and then build up from there and just make sure it's everything's all good and working for you. But I mean, Ian might have better advice around that, but that's just what that's what I did the first time before I went to a full bottle, just to check that there was nothing that disagreed with me. But I honestly haven't heard anything from people that there's been issues.
Yes, I mean, triathletes are, you could say, a different breed of people. They are very particular. They're very fussy about hydration, nutrition, how they train, where they race. So the question was, for a first-time user, what would you encourage? Just say, for example, I was the first time I was going to use the Prep hydration product. What would you recommend in regards to usage?
I think Tim has been very wise. What we're doing is introducing a new food, if you like, for the bacteria in your large bowel to consume and ferment, and you want to make sure that you give them time to adapt to the new food, particularly if they haven't been exposed to it before. So as a result of that, trying a little bit to make sure that it's okay. The bacteria in the, if you like, in the large bowel, the ones that utilise the resistant starch that's in PREPT, mainly bifidobacteria, some lactobacillus, and a few other types of bacteria actually utilise it. Just gives them a little bit of time just to adapt. But once they've adapted and you're using it on a regular basis, then there really is no issue.
Yeah, and Andrew Perry, the CEO's just given me a message. So far, you are leading the popularity stakes a quarter of the way through the show. So well done, Ian. You've taken on the world champion, the apprentice there as well. So well done. Keep it going, strong champion.
I'm totally intimidated by these two gentlemen.
I'm intimidated by the words that you're using. They're so scientific. I just did biology in Year 12. I didn't do anything chemistry or anything else besides that. But Ian, there is another question for you, mate. Greg Tubakoff. Ian, are there any food to eat at the same time as drinking a prime? Any foods that you recommend? He said, do any foods work against the prime?
No foods really work against the prime, but what I really have, this is really the area for a nutritionist, and I'm sure that both Steve and Tim have got excellent nutritionists who advise them on the sort of diet that they should have leading up to these sort of performances and afterwards. The one thing with, if you like, again, the resistant starch that we have in PREP is that it can, if you like, take care of, if you like, some of the issues that might have come through some components of the diet that come in, simply because we're promoting, if you like, the growth of the beneficial bacteria and mitigating some other effects that might come from other types of foods. But Tim, Steve, do you have recommendations about the sort of diet that somebody should have leading into a major event?
I've got a dietitian sitting next to me. She probably doesn't want to be on camera, but yeah, I'll put her on. No? Okay, she really doesn't want to go on. She's just got out of the shower. But she can tell us. So
you put the rating through the roof.
She's also eating dinner, so I might leave her out. But she's eating kimchi. She's also eating some potatoes, some broccoli, eggplant, and so I reckon let's just go with that. That must be healthy.
Yeah, I haven't found eating anything in particular is problematic with PREP. I think, I've found it. There's no issues whatsoever. I'm not sure whether taking on another fermented food might do something, Ian, but I certainly haven't noticed that if I'm eating yogurt or something else. But
I have done some work in putting fructal oligosaccharides together with PREP and also psyllium. But again, they were for very particular, if you like, particular conditions. The psyllium with resistant starch was to treat constipation as a way of actually having fermentation and even a non-fermentable material. So, and that can be a potential problem for people competing as well. Whereas, if you like, the resistant starch that we're using in PREP tend to reduce transit time and also soften stools a little bit. So it tends to make it far easier. But so, again, you're really looking at the optimal, if you like, protein, lipid, and carbohydrate basis, and fermentation. It's just a mixture of fibers within there, generally does a good job. But resistant starch traditionally, if you looked at diets, and we published this work quite some time ago, Western diets typically have somewhere between 4 and 5 grams of resistant starch in the diet these days. If you go to more traditional diets in places like China, Japan, and the rest, with somewhere between 50 and 100 grams of resistant starch. So in refining the diet, we tended to take the resistant starch out of the diet, where what you're now doing is starting to put it back to try and actually balance out the fermentation in the gut itself.
Yeah, a lot of great We're talking to Dr. Ian Brown, of course, the man who invented this amazing product called PREP. We've got two of the great ambassadors and sponsored athletes at PREP, Tim Reed and Steve McKenna. Welcome to Try Buzz with Muzz, our product show for the very first time. A lot of people following, asking some great questions, and we are, I believe, gentlemen, getting those answers correct. I would love to see Steve McKenna, your fiance, to come on as a dietitian. Tell her we will give her some free prep. She can have whatever she wants. But Kay Atkins from Townsville, she's asked at Sunny Coast Ironman 70.3, because it is on in September. Is it prep going to be there? Tony Wickham, the prep man at Tim Reed, didn't really know, but he will know shortly, I promise you. Yes.
I apologise. I thought you were serious about the male model thing, so I was trying to think of a model. But then I know who Tony is now. I just was like,
call him the Black Pearl. We call him
Tony the model.
Good-looking rooster. But anyway, just to answer your questions, at the Sunny Coast, of course, things are up in the air in regards to expos, of course, with Corona and COVID-19 there, but there is a great supply. Dave Chick, his name is, at Alest Sports. He'll be there. Tanya Davenport has asked, okay, try to always worry about the Mueller, the money. How much are they? So for one of these great Recover bottles, Tanya, she's up there in North Queensland, around $3.75. That's all. Very, very cheap. And of course, we're going to give away not one, but around 6 to 10 boxes of an 8-pack of prep. And the first question, and the first person coming on up, we understand there is about a 10-second delay from Zoom to Facebook. But the first question, I'll just go to my sheet, is I haven't really made any questions up, to tell you the truth. I'm just trying to cover it up. But prep hydration burst onto the scene in November of what year? We've already talked about it. Ian mentioned it. What was the year that the prep hydration burst on the scene in November? Be the first person to call on in. I always want to say that, and be caller number 3, and we'll give you a pack of prep product. No, first caller to come on through. It's all up to date. Andrew's just sending a message away. Get that one. If athletes have fast or slow gut transit times, does this affect what products they take in? If they've got fast or slow gut transit times? That's a very good question. And by the way, Jeanette Glorious has won 2018 an 8-pack. An 8-pack is coming to you, Jeanette. Sorry, Ian. Back to you.
Yeah, no, transit time across the large bowel is somewhere around 20 hours or thereabouts. But it can, as you have material into the large bowel and increase your fibre content, it can decrease the transit time a little bit. We had some wonderful people in Canada consume very, very large quantities just to make sure that, one, it didn't cause any problems, and 2, we could actually sort of measure things like transit time. But what it means is that we're getting optimal fermentation across the bowel through the materials that are actually being added in there in terms of fermentable fibres.
All right, great work. Thanks for answering that question. Of course, Jeanette Gigoris has won the first 8-pack, and I've got to be kind here because Cass Terry was literally half a second behind, so I'm going to throw her a pack, an 8-pack of Prep Recover out there as well. So great work. Now, boys, when you race and when you recover, what flavour do you like? I look up on the big screen here, if you can just still see over here. Look at this, amazing. We've got mango and passion fruit. We've got the strawberry and kiwi. What's the flavour of choice of the world Ironman 70.3 champion, Timbo Reed?
Yeah, I like the strawberry kiwi. It's my flavour of choice. And I actually just prefer the chocolate powder for the protein and for the prime after. The protein and prepped afterwards.
Yeah, fantastic. Jeanette and Kathy are both clapping their hands. They've both won the 8-pack. Good work, girls. Great to see you there. Cafeteria, I was just excited to know the answer. It's good to see. Steve McKenna, what's your flavour of choice, mate, for this rising superstar of triathlon racing?
I'm the opposite, actually. I like the mango one. But I do also like the chocolate one. It basically tastes like Milo. If you put enough of it in, it's exactly like Milo. And so that's like my tasty treat at night now. I'm just replacing chocolate, which is great.
Yeah, a lot of positive feedback coming up on the big screen. Toby Coote, we mentioned already, super coach at Sunshine Coast Tri Academy. He said, as an athlete, he always struggled with hydration products it affected his stomach. But with the Prep Prime and recovery, he's found that he had no stomach problems at all. And he has a few athletes in the same boat. So this stuff, we're just talking about, we're not just here to sell it, we're here to promote it, but we are here to say how good it is. And boys, your performances have been outstanding, and a lot of it could be justified by the Prep product in Prep Hydration.
Yeah, Pete, I think one of my biggest fears when I decided to be an ambassador of this brand was part of me didn't want to promote it because I was pretty keen to keep my competitors in the dark, and but ultimately you got to make a living, so I had to sign on. But there's a few things where when I'm really convinced, this is, it's pretty important to me that I'm actually reimbursed, because if other athletes are using it, they're going to end up with the same benefit, and that's not exactly what I want.
We're all in this together, mate. Come on, it's all good fun. It's all like to hurt each other out there. But I've seen you two and a lot of the other athletes forget about the rivalry after the race when we have a little bit of together. That's part of the fun. That's sport in general. Now, we're going to ask Andrew Perry. He is our CEO of the Prep Hydration. Andrew, you're going to give away the next person. So I want you to scroll through our feedback page. We've got a lot of people following along on Facebook Live, and pick one of the names for our third pack of 8 of this wonderful product. There's a lot of support. Matty Bird says vote 1, the mango passion fruit flavour. Danny Andres, he's been doing pretty tough health-wise over the last couple of years. He loves the mango as well. Now, Peter George has put up a question. Are different volumes, and you might answer this one, Ian, are different volumes recommended for males and females and for bigger, heavier athletes against the smaller athletes? So first of all, Ian, male and female, is there a difference in regards to quantity?
Again, it depends. Generally, it's around body mass, if you like, as to how much is consumed. But the amounts that are given in terms of the, if you like, the pre-made material, both the primary cover are made so that it sort of encompasses what's required for both male and female. But when it comes to the powdered products, then you can really start to, if you like, make the amount that makes the best performance for yourself. So you're able to take the tubs and use as much as required. But so it really does come down to the opportunity, particularly with the powdered product, of really sort of making it as much as it gives you the performance that you're after.
Yeah, very well answered. Great to see some great questions coming on up. And Andrew from Prep, the CEO, has announced our next winner. The winner is Paul Waters. Paul Waters, you've got the third pack. I'm just going to write this down so we make sure that we do get these packs of 8 to the winners. So far, Jeanette Gregoris, Kath Terry and Paul Waters have won it. Now, boys, let's get away from Prep just for a little while. Of course, with the COVID-19, it's been a very roller coaster 2020, to say in a nice way, but it's really affected your racing and your planning. But some good news this week, Reedy. I know you were stoked. We talked a little bit through a couple of messages, but it is good to see racing back in Queensland, in particular for you, Ironman Asia Pacific Championships in Cairns. We'll see you up there.
Yeah, Pete, it's I think like probably like most people that have had their jobs changed a little bit or reduced or lost their jobs, it was a little bit of a trying time. You sort of, as athletes especially, you're always focused on a goal, and then suddenly when that goal's ripped away from you, I mean, there's the money side of it and all that, but I think just not having that daily purpose is a little bit confusing. And so it was very exciting to hear Cairns was back on. And yeah, I know there were a lot of high fives going around the guys that I train with when we heard the news.
Yeah, it's going to be a great field up there. Of course, a lot of pros have been holding those reins, ready to race, of course. And Ironman Cairns Asia Pacific Championships will be absolutely huge. And the other question in COVID-19, how the hell did you go with homeschooling?
Yeah, it was probably, like the first day or two, Pete, I thought this isn't too bad. I've got this. And then by a few days in, I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
The funny thing about it, both you and I are teachers.
Yeah. Mate, the kids, when I taught in schools, they actually listened to me.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. I started at 9 o'clock. At 9:15, India's going, is it recess yet? Come on, we've got to do it. But it's a challenge, I tell you what. And being, like I said, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher. I'm trained, of course, but It is an absolute challenge at homeschooling. It's hard for the kids. They don't have, as you said, really the structure of the classroom. You know, when you're a teacher, you've got that little space where you've got to literally lock 30 kids in for a couple of hours before they get out. It's quite easy at school, but at home, it's impossible.
Yeah, it was. I think I think we averaged about 3 hours of arguments to do half an hour work.
Very smart kids. Very smart kids. They know how to work. Steve McKenna, of course, you certainly don't have kids yet, mate. You just got engaged this year. It's been a big year for you, buddy, away from triathlon. But how are you focusing now on the rest of 2020 in regards to your racing, champ?
Well, yeah, I kind of saw it as an opportunity to get a big training block in. Really convinced me when we first started together to stop racing so much, rest and recover, lose fitness. I didn't really, have the right approach to my racing, and then I did once we started with Reedy, but now it's a full-on 6-month training block in my eyes. That's how I took it anyway. Some people decided to take a little break from training, and I've probably done more than Reedy would have wanted, but yeah, I admitted to Reedy this week that I am probably slightly obsessed with the gains that I've been making lately. So I'm pretty keen to get started now, because the emotional roller coaster of races being cancelled or postponed or on or off is just getting a bit tiring. So hopefully, or fingers crossed, something goes ahead really soon. But yeah, the only way I was dealing with this whole period really was just probably training more, thinking about the long term. I only took up triathlon in 2015, so yeah, I kind of thought a big base building phase would be good, and I think prep actually did come in handy in this period, because we drank a lot more than usual at home. Not having kids, we could, and I just counteracted that every night with 2 bottles of prep.
The only thing I left out was the prep. I've been sampling a lot of other hydration, but I will get onto the prep.
Sorry, Steve, are you suggesting that prep is good for hangovers?
Well, I was going to ask that. Well, I thought if I'm going to go for a drinking session, I'll smash a prep before the drinking session. So here's a question for you, Ian. Will it actually help me the next day, and will it help me drink more during that drinking session?
We certainly can't advocate you to have, if you like, intense drinking sessions, but if you're more hydrated, the breakdown product of alcohol is acetaldehyde. And so one of the issues that you've got there is trying to actually clear that out of your system. So it does clear out a little bit better if you're fully hydrated, your kidneys are working in good function, if you like. But I'm sure if you actually ask your partner in terms of this, she'll be able to tell you in great detail about
it. I think she confirmed that I should do it, but she never explained it like you have. So I just went with it.
Hey, Reed, you're a super triathlon coach as well as one of the world's best athletes. You do coach Steve McKenna and other athletes. What about the age groups? I mean, you talk about motivation for you. I mean, it is your livelihood, both of you gentlemen. You make your living out of doing what you love best, swim, bike and running, and of course racing all over the world. But age groupers have been in a very similar boat. Races are on, races have been postponed, races have been moved, races have been cancelled. Age groupers are maybe a little bit different. They've got to plan their race, their season, probably a little bit more in concrete than what you guys have a little bit more flexibility, I would think. But how do you keep the age group motivated? If you're coaching age groupers, Reedy, how do you keep them motivated? It's like I said before, it's a roller coaster. You're up, you're down, you're going forward, you're going backwards. What would be your best advice as a coach?
Yeah, it's funny, Pete. I spoke to a few other coaches, and I certainly noticed the same thing, in that athletes were actually reaching out for coaching more than ever before. And I think with all the uncertainty around a lot of other areas of their life and the stress of the whole situation, training, the structure of training was almost like an outlet and a way to just escape the sort of pretty dire situation that the world is in. Not to be dramatic. And so it was, I found I took on a couple of extra athletes because I had a little bit more time without races, and I just found athletes were really enjoying the structure, and we would create new goals such as let's work on your site, let's work on a weakness instead of focusing on your swimming, which is already fantastic. It was sort of an individual thing for each athlete, but we would find something that we could do without the usual interruptions of a race, maybe in 8 weeks or 12 weeks. We could just really...
I just found athletes were...
Turn your volume down, Steve.
Sorry, that's Lauren watching it. she's been watching it without sound, so sorry about that.
Lauren, that's a strike against Lauren. I'm sorry.
We've got a tiny house. She can't actually go anywhere else.
If you're getting bored, Lauren, you should have just told me.
Are you finished already, have you? Okay, yeah, sorry. No, I'm only joking, of course. Guys, we're going to wrap it up pretty soon, but we've got so much feedback. Here's a question, Ian, you're probably, again, the best one, from Doug Haig. Can prepped powder be used in cooking? Also like muffins, bars, smoothies?
Yes, it could be. The base starch, one of the benefits of the base starch in this case is that it has a very high cooking temperature. So it won't cook as a normal starch will cook. As a result of that, when I sort of talk about starches when they cook like normal cornstarch, cooks at around sort of 60 to 65 degrees Celsius. The starch in if you like, that we're using in this case probably has a cookout temperature somewhere between 80 and 90 degrees. You actually have to keep the starch granule intact for it to work as a resistant starch. So as a result, you don't want it to cook. So when you put it into something like a bread or a muffin or those sorts of products, you have to keep the temperature low enough that you're not going to actually cook the starch out and lose the ability for it to travel down to the large bowel. It's all to do with how the structure of the starch granule is as to how it works. And that perhaps is a question for another day. But you can use it in cooking. Some of the starches that I've in fact developed are used in anything from breakfast cereals to bread, as I said, Wonder White bread, through to, if you like, pasta and other things. They can be used. It's just how you actually manufacture them, which becomes terribly important.
Yeah, well, Danny Andre, he uses it in his smoothies each day. So he's added a little bit of a spoonful here or there to add into his smoothie as well. Okay, another, of course, prize pack to give away. We've got a pack of 8 of these wonderful prepped product Recover. Okay, there's 8 in a pack. Of course, you can get it at any of our races or any of the races around the world at the Prep Boys there, $3.75, including up in Singapore at the market. I can't remember the name of the market. We'll find it for you though. But what is Tim Reed's favourite flavour? He talked about this a little bit earlier. If we can get our first person to put up their favourite, Tim Reed's, favourite flavour, what was it? We'll send out to you a pack of 8. It's a great thing, pre and post-training smoothies. Danny Andre uses, so he uses pre and post-racing in his smoothies. Thanks, Danny, for tuning on in. Of course, down there at Pulse Tri Club in Sydney. Awesome to see. It's great to have Tim Reed. Of course, Ironman 70.3. What is your favourite flavour? Kiwi? Reedy?
Strawberry and kiwi.
Strawberry and kiwi, yes, we've given it to Brendan Wall. Now, here, you can choose this one. Brendan Wall said kiwi, and straight after Chris Woodridge said kiwi strawberry. Do we give it to Chris?
Oh, that was the question. Sorry, I'm so confused. Yeah, okay. You give it to strawberry kiwi because it's not.
Okay, there's the decision. I'm sorry. Yeah. Chris Woodridge is the winner of the 4th pack. Chris Woodridge. I'm sorry, Brendan. You had kiwi. You got half right. Maybe we can give you a half a pack. I don't know. Don't think so. I'm so sorry. I'm sleep ready. I just checked the time. It's almost 8 o'clock. What do you reckon? I'm putting you to sleep. Jeez, those kids will be charging when you get off this, mate. We're going to wrap it up pretty soon. And one other thing I know, Prep now, they've gone out. I mean, they've been in other sports for many years, but I noticed that the Victorian umpires, they're probably not doing a lot at the moment in Victoria for the AFL, but they're actually ambassadors and they're actually on the prepped hydration as well. They do a lot of running. I've been to a couple of live AFL games. Those referees really do run a lot of kilometres in a game, but is it true that they're being on the prepped hydration as well?
They do. They in fact, their concern is that they don't get to drink anything between the beginning and ending of each quarter. So they found that they, in fact, were becoming quite dehydrated, and that was impeding their performance, but also their recovery afterwards. So both as Tim and Steve has indicated, if they're able to take PrEP beforehand, it meant that they were actually recovering and performing much better, and they've been able to come back and indicate that.
Yeah, they're very quiet at the moment. They wouldn't be using too much at the moment with no games in Melbourne. It's certainly been affected big time with the COVID. All right, so we found out Tim Reed's favourite flavour now. Stevie McKenna, he was in opposition in regards to flavour. What was Steve McKenna's favourite flavour? And we'll give away another pack of 8 prepped Recover product. Of course, each pack comes with 8. That's right. Made at $3.75, so times that by 8. Geez, you're up around $30 free prize coming on in. What was Steve McKenna's favourite flavour? It wasn't the kiwi strawberry like Reedy Boy. What was it? Okay, Steve's just trying to remember what it was. Can you remember what it was, Steve?
He won. I was opposing
Now,
him.
Tanya Davenport is our winner. Was it chocolate, Steve?
I said mango, but yeah.
Okay, we're going to give. You did say chocolate as well. I did hear that.
I did both. Yeah, I said both.
I have to give it to Tanya now because I just wrote it down on the.
Yeah, that's fine.
And Cliff Rollins from Coss Harbour, we're going to give you a pack as well, buddy, because you did say mango. You're the first person to say mango, and that was the favourite flavour of course, Steve McKenna. Now, Dr. Ian Brown, we do thank you very much for your time, mate. It's very, very interesting how the PrEP hydration came to fruition. It's a wonderful product, and I do believe, Ian, that it's actually going global, literally as we speak.
Yeah, we were approached, as you sort of mentioned earlier, for Singapore. So we've been sending product to distribution in Singapore, but also there's been now 28 National Football League players from the US have actually requested samples for use in their, if you like, their pre-season training. So we've just been sending product over to them as well.
We've had a request from a couple of our prize winners. Can they transfer the PrEP hydration into Pure Blonde 6-pack? No, you can't. Okay, usually we are sponsored by Pure Blonde here at Try Buzz with Muzz. I'll keep the 6-pack. You guys can have the 8-pack. It's better for you anyway, but it's fantastic. And there was one question here. I just want to touch on it very, very quickly. One of the Victorians said, PrEP must be a wonderful product for the Victorian umpires, but it doesn't affect their decision-making skills.
Yes,
All right.
We've done no work regarding, if you like, their ability to see.
The day you bring something out like that out, Ian, you'll make $1 trillion, I can promise you, buddy. And I would have a sample of that one, I reckon, because I've lost it. But Ian, it has been a privilege to meet you. We live in the same hometown, literally a couple of 100 metres away. We've never met each other until tonight. I promise you, you and I will go up to the Lighthouse Beach shops. We'll go to Inside Out Cafe. I don't drink coffee. Do you drink coffee?
I don't, but Inside Out is great because Gabby and Mick, wonderful people. Yeah,
great friends of mine, Mick and Gabby, Inside Out, up there at the Lighthouse Beach shops. If we go to the cafe, I don't drink coffee. You don't drink coffee. What are we going to have?
Well, it could be tea or it could be a smoothie. You never know.
I have a smoothie. Otherwise, we can go to the TPT, the Tacking Point Tavern, around the other corner.
That's easier.
But Ian, thanks so much for...
just a question, Pete, before you go.
Yeah, sure.
You know that PrEP is going to, in fact, start to raise funds by crowdfunding for the business itself. So there will be an opportunity coming up in the very near future for anyone interested in fact becoming a shareholder in PrEP to in fact join within our crowdfunding program to try and take this program and make it grow, the company grow, and make the product more available to people both here in Australia and overseas.
It sounds like a really great opportunity for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people out there watching. We've got big numbers tonight tuning on in. Of course, everybody out there will share this with their coaches, their athletes, their club members. I can't believe it. The doctor has just got, from Chris Waring, the doctor was fantastic. Thank you. You've got players tonight. You're players, Dr. Reed.
Can I please get, if you like, Mike, to in fact have to talk to my kids?
Mate, we all try to keep our kids happy. We all know that is a very challenging job. probably the best job in the world, but the hardest job in the world at the same time is Steve McKenna. You've got all that to look forward to, my friend.
Yeah, you've put me off it tonight.
Oh, we've got to thank, again, Ian, thanks so much. Timbo,
It's a
Reed,
pleasure.
thank you. I'm going to reveal what's been in my house all day. My kids, you know Harper, he loves Reedy. He's a fan. He's been getting little selfies with it. India loves it. The little fella's been just punching him in the leg. I'm just going to show
Caroline loves it. She's going to leave it up forever.
Speak of you, our backdrop will change. Just hang loose. I know I have to keep on going with you. Hang on. Hopefully I can do this. Yeah.
Hey.
You've got taller.
Yeah.
Down here. Look at him.
That was part of our agreement.
Look at that, guys. Yeah, look at that. It's been my lounge room wall all day. I tell you what, I've come in. India actually got a fright. I'm not joking. She looked up and went, Jesus, what's that? I said, it's only Reedy. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you what, mate. Where was that photo taken? Was it up in Byron Bay?
Yeah, that was where we used to live.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks great. Living that running out there in the country.
Yeah.
And I like the saying of prepped, ready, prepped, go. I love it. So athletes out there, get ready, get prepped, and get ready to go. It's been an absolute privilege to do our first ever Try Buzz with Muzz product show. Thanks for all the feedback on the Facebook Live. Like we said, it's a great opportunity to share this post. I know the prep team are going to be cutting and pasting strips of it there. Apparently you're going to be the highlight reel. The other two guys will get a bit of a wrap as well, but it's all about a team effort. We've got the team done today, but we do thank everyone for being involved. Thanks to Ian, Tim and Steve. It's been very interesting from Brendan Boyd, Brian Upton, another awesome buzz session tonight. Very informative. We've never had that on our show ever. Okay, so there we got that. Ours is usually a lot of BS, but anyway, informative. We're getting somewhere. We do thank every single person. Eric, Louise, Francois, thanks for another great session. And Kath Terry says he's handsome too. Is she talking about you, Steve? Kath Terry?
Yeah, I don't know if it's mum or dad. You never know. So I'm not sure who they're talking about either. Ian, I'm assuming.
You're all good-looking roosters. We do thank you guys. Again, Ian, thanks so much. Reedy, looking forward to catching up with you. Hopefully I'll get up to Ironman Cairns for Asia Pacific Championship, September 27. Mate, all the best with training. Looking after that beautiful family of yours. How's it going in Lennox, by the way?
Yeah, we love it, Pete. It's I haven't spent many winters around this area, and I'm sort of questioning why I ever left. It's just been stunning.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. It wasn't for you, that good-looking tag. Cats just confirmed it's for Ian. So, Ian, you're the good... Mate, you've just taken all the awards tonight. Best and fairest. Players play. I know you're getting the best-looking rooster on Try Buzz with Muzz prep show.
It'll go to my head. Can I just say, Pete, thank you very much. Tim,
pleasure,
Steve,
mate.
it's been a pleasure to meet you both, albeit in this way. Very good luck with all of your activities and your events and stuff. I will watch with great interest.
Thanks, Ian.
Your records have been absolutely outstanding so far, so I'm really looking forward to your futures.
Yeah, it's nice words from the doc himself, the man behind Prep Hydration. Steve, we know Reed is going to be lining up at the Asia Pac Champs in Cairns. Are we going to see you up in Cairns?
Yeah, I'll do anything that's on. I'm pretty desperate to race now. Absolutely
The
anything.
Master and the Apprentice. The Master and the Apprentice. That's
I'm running 10K this weekend.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for oh wait, I've got to say this comment. Sorry, Ian for PM. Bloody hell, this show. Please no more comments about Ian. We know he's the best on the show. Reedy will come in second, tied for second between Steve and Reedy. And Pete Murray, you beauty, dead last. All right, it's all good. All right, guys, over and off. This has been, we'll say goodbye to Ian. Let me just work this one out. We'll just go to participants. Who wants to go? We'll get rid of Ian. See you, Ian.
See you later.
Everybody. He's gone. He's gone straight to the waiting room. Okay, Burks, I was going to say. Reedy and Steve, scissor, paper, rock. Who's going next? You ready? Here we go. Scissor, paper, rock. Oh, bloody hell. So, one more time. Scissor, paper, rock. Stuff. Same time. See you later. All right, Reedy, see you, mate. Say good day to the kids. Love you.
Cheers. See ya. Bye.
Let's go. He's gone. More. Let's just take him into the waiting room. And then there was one, and that's me, folks. It's been great having you on part of the Try Buzz with Muzz. Our first ever product show. It was so good to be involved with the Prep Hydration team. We've got another couple of ones coming up real soon. One with our race director extraordinaire, a great mate of mine. If you've got a company out there you want to join in, have a little bit of fun, come on to Try Buzz with Muzz. Now, we're not going to see you on Wednesday night because I'm taking the kids down to Sydney tomorrow. Bad day with the weather. We're going to try climb the bridge. We're going to go Wednesday, we're going to the zoo, and we're back in #244 on Thursday. So this week, our Try Buzz show will be on Thursday, and we've got a superstar coming on up. Stay tuned the next couple of days, and we'll confirm who it is, and we'll reveal, who it is. My name's Pete Murray, better known as Muzz, from Try Buzz with Muzz. Thanks so much. Thanks to Andrew Perry, Tony Wickham, and the boys from Prep, Dr. Ian Brown, and of course, our athletes tonight. Tim Reed, Ironman 7.3 world champion, and of course, Ironman 7.3 champion and long course champion in Steve McKenna. Over and out, guys. Take care. Thanks for joining on in. We'll see you soon, somewhere, somehow, in triathlon. #Ironman Oceania. Let's get it racing in September. Over and out. And remember, you've been buzzed by Muzz on the Try Buzz with Muzz Prep show. See you soon.